My family would donate to that.
Tea Party backing you? The Tea Party backing you.
Thank you very much. Well, you know, you just mentioned Tea Party backing us. Right now, we're honored to say we're getting support from across a wide range. Right now, we're getting support from Republicans, conservatives, independents, Tea Party movement followers, and Democrats looking for a better way. You know, we're getting that from a wide range of from folks. Thank you, sir. Sir.
In the post-star, you wouldn't really come out and say whether you would join the Tea Party caucus or not if you were elected. Will you A, join it, B, not join it, or C, are you not telling them?
No, you know, actually, I thought I answered that question very clearly. I don't intend to join caucuses. What I want to, that's right. I don't plan to. What I want to do is be part of helping form and lead an American coalition that's focused on the major problems of our time. The major problems of our time: the economy, the deficit and the debt, and protecting our freedoms from threats from abroad and encroachment here at home. Thank you.
I was just curious, you mentioned that different healthcare plans should be introduced.
Yes.
Can you give a couple points?
Yeah, I sure can.
Sure.
You know, the question was on health care, and like I said, I believe that the bill that was passed back in March and signed by the President is a step in the wrong direction. We're going to end up with more costs. That's clear now. Even the chief actuary talks about the fact this is going to, and we're going to end up with higher costs. We're certainly going to have new taxes. There's about a couple dozen new taxes, including, for example, just one example, including a tax on real estate, right? And among it, there's a tax on medical device industry. There's a couple dozen new taxes, including a tax now on investments. So we're going to end up with higher costs, more taxes, more regulations. Now, you know, in the media, there's talk about the 1099 as, you know, for anything exceeding $600 with vendors, that's a 1099 requirement. There's a lot of talk about that being onerous, and it is. But I just want to point out there are thousands and thousands of regulations in this thing. That's only one of them. And we're continuing to grow big government at a time that we should be reducing the size of federal government. Some estimates are that we're going to have to hire up to 16,500 new IRS workers just to enforce this. Now keep in mind, they have nothing to do with your health care. What we need is more doctors, not more IRS workers. So the question was what to do then, because we know that small business owners, we hear consistently that there are three major impediments to growth: taxation, regulation, and healthcare costs. So we've got to have a bill. So what we need to do is repeal this bill and replace it. But the one that should come forward, the replacement bill, should be based on free market forces. What we need to do is get access to insurance companies across state lines. There is laws prohibiting that right now, and they should be taken off the books so that we can go across state lines to get access to major insurance companies. There are about 3 dozen or so major insurance companies in America, and right now you are prohibited from getting access to any that are beyond your state boundary. That's number one. We need more understanding and more transparency in cost in general. Right now, you really only become aware of costs, generally speaking, when you get your summary of benefits with your copay. That tells you what the costs were for your various things, because mostly that's done with your insurance company. We should have more understanding of cost in our system. And in a day and age with the internet, there's no reason why we can't have more understanding of costs. That will also allow us to shop around more. If you know that in Catskill you're going to be charged a certain amount, Albany a certain amount, over in Hudson another amount, you can be a more informed consumer, and at a cost of a few more minutes in the vehicle moving from A, B to C, you can actually impact how much you and your insurance company are paying for health care. More transparency in the healthcare system. You know, we also have to have tort reform. We've got to have stability in the system right now. Not uncommon for doctors in the greater Albany area to pay over $100,000 for healthcare insurance, for malpractice insurance. And that is adding to the costs. And we need to have some more stability in terms of medical liability. The other piece of this is the tort reform will also get after the defensive medicine practices. Right now, when you go to see a doctor and there's a diagnosis done, there are multiple tests that are performed, and in many cases, excessive amount of tests because of concerns of being sued for frivolous lawsuit. So we need to implement tort reform. In states that have implemented tort reform, they've actually seen a decrease in costs and an increase in doctors. Now, those are two forces and factors we'd like to see come right here to New York State. So this is the kind of bill that we need. We need to repeal that bill and to replace it with one animated by the principles that I just pointed out right here. Yes, ma'am.
What is your stand on illegal immigration?
Yeah. Well, you know, you look at what's going on down there in Arizona. I would tell you I'm not for illegal anything. Okay? You know, we're a nation of laws, and if we don't enforce our laws, then who are we? And we have a situation right now where we're not enforcing our laws. And I'm calling on the administration to work with Arizona, not to be adversaries with Arizona, but to work with Arizona so that we can enforce the laws that are on the books. Thank you for that question. You know, let me also say this as you think about whether or not you have any further questions. This is the first time since 1974 that we have no budget. First time that we have no budget. What the leaders down in Washington have done is they've deemed last year's budget. They have escaped the hard choices. Without a budget, you can't govern. Actually, that was Congressman Spratt who said that. He's a Democrat from South Carolina. Without a budget, you can't govern. Without a budget, there's no plan for job creation, and there's no plan for fiscal responsibility. Now, I understand why they didn't do it from a political standpoint, because it's hard. There are tough choices before us, but this is when you need leadership, more than ever. Now, as many of you know, this is my first time ever running for office. I have no political experience, but what I do have is proven leadership that you can count on in the toughest of times. I have fought for our country, and I'm ready to serve you now in the United States Congress. I will go to Congress, and I will give you a voice and a new direction for New York 20. Mary Jo and I, we recognize the fact that there are tough choices, and we're going to make the first cut to ourselves. You know, once elected, we're going to give up our pension. That's worth about $68,000, but we're not going to double dip on the taxpayers. You know, in a time that we all have to recognize we need to do more with less, because for too long we did less with more. So we recognize this, and we're going to give up our pension as a means of credibility to be at the table so that other leaders in Congress recognize that we have to make the tough choices. We've got to balance this budget. We run the risk of being the first generation to leave our country worse off than we found it. That's not only an economic imperative, that's a moral imperative. And our campaign stands with the people of the 20th District to grow the private sector economy and to balance our budget by reduce federal spending as we work to protect our freedoms from threats from abroad and from encroachment here at home. Okay, the question's on Social Security. Thank you for asking that question. I actually think Social Security is one of the programs that have worked well here in the United States of America, and we need to preserve that program. You know, there's been, my opponent came out and said that I wanted to privatize that program. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. I am for sustaining this program. I would tell you that right now the program is viable. The problem is that the federal government continues to reach in and take money out of the Social Security Fund. This year, unexpectedly now, and next year, the Social Security Fund is running a deficit because the federal government is reaching in because of this extraordinary deficit spending, this unprecedented deficit spending. We're talking about $1.3 trillion right now.